Welcome back, everyone. Checking on Director Richmond, and there's Director Stoner. Thank you.
I'm here.
We'll resume the regular board meeting on item 9.9, maternity and parental leave. And we have Monica Halitsky here from staff to present. Thank you for your report, and thank you. Go ahead, please, Monica.
Thank you, Chair Birch-Jones, and hi to the board. I'm Monica Halitsky, HR Manager. This report is for the proposed SLRD paid maternity and parental leave for board members policy. The draft policy and amendment bylaw to the remuneration bylaw was previously presented at the board meeting in July 2021. At that meeting, there was a discussion surrounding the potential for misalignment of the leave granted by a municipal director's municipality with the amount of leave provided under the SLRD's proposed policy. Staff have further reviewed this matter, and through this report is requesting direction on the amount of paid leave a municipal director on the SLRD board is eligible to receive under the SLRD's policy. The Local Government Act and Community Charter do not address rights for a board member who goes on maternity or parental leave. Both only allow for general leaves of absence for up to 60 days or 4 consecutive meetings. For leaves of longer duration, a board or council must pass a resolution granting the leave. The proposed policy and bylaw amendment provides for continued stipend payment for up to 6 board meetings during an absence for maternity or parental leave. Under the current proposed policy, there is the potential for misalignment issues in scenarios where the municipality grants an amount of leave that is less than what is granted under the SLRD's policy, or where the municipality declines the leave. To address these potential issues, staff is looking for the board's direction in order to update the proposed policy to address this potential misalignment issue. The options that are outlined in the report, so one of the options would be to provide the 6 months of paid leave to a municipal director regardless of what's been granted by their municipality, or to provide the same length of leave as granted by their municipality, or other direction that the board would like to see on this. Thank you. I can take any questions if there are any.
Thank you. I'm looking for questions, and I see Director Pettingill.
Yeah, thanks. Just in the proposed changes, it says the director is authorized to be absent for whichever is of the following is the shorter, and the first option is up to 6 consecutive board meetings. But with special meetings and that sort of thing, it could be much longer than 6 months. I guess in my mind, the goal is 6 months regardless of the municipalities. But I'm wondering why we didn't just say 6 months as opposed to counting the number of meetings, which may not align to 6 months.
That's a good point. So I guess 6 months is, I guess that's a good point, because some councils meet more than once a month, or they meet several times per month. I guess the 6 months isn't really aligned with meetings. It's more of just, a 6 month period. It has nothing to do with the amount of meetings or that kind of thing. So hopefully that makes sense.
So we could change this to just be 6 months as opposed to the number of meetings. Would that throw anything off?
I think so.
Where would that wording be?
That's on page 557 of our updated agenda. 13A in the proposed bylaw.
Sorry, it's in the amendment bylaw.
It's sort of the highlighted portion, I think, of the proposed, what the bylaw would look like if we passed as proposed. So 13A, absence by director due to maternity leave or paternity leave, that section.
So I don't see, up to 6 consecutive board meetings. So that's based on a monthly board meeting at the SLRD board.
So replacing that with 6 months would meet the objective.
Yeah.
I'll defer to Director or Joseph Clark on this one.
Well, my memory's a little, I'm not totally refreshed on this, but we were aligning it with the wording in the legislation and in our procedure bylaw, or one of our bylaws, remuneration bylaw, I believe it is, that talks about that up to that same wording. But I think it would be okay to just go with, sorry, Director Pettingill, your suggestion was just 6 months.
Yeah, and because I think there was even this month a special meeting, so we'd be already pushed back to 5 months if we, if there's some special meetings.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So we can look at updating the language in the bylaw to 6 months.
Thank you.
That's good, and I see Director Stoner.
Up
Thank
to
you.
6 months.
Up to 6 months. Thank you through the chair. I think that's a good catch, Director Pettingill. I too was going to raise that. So I think it's helpful just to be as clear as possible for it being up to 6 months. With respect to the section that staff are looking for direction on today, I think just for municipal directors, my sense is that if we just align with across the SLRD makes the most sense, so that there's equity across the directors at the SLRD board, as opposed to trying to align to the municipalities. The other piece that isn't contemplated here was if a municipality decides to try and provide more leave. So there are municipalities in the province that are providing up to 18 months leave for parental leave. So that is a whole other can of worms that I don't think we want to necessarily go down, but I think just aligning municipal directors and area directors leave across the regional district seems like the most fair and consistent way to address this, and then doesn't necessarily tie us to whatever happens at an individual municipality. My comments. I did not have any questions. Thank you for the work.
Okay. I'm not seeing any other hands. I'd entertain a motion on this. Director Rainbow. I think you're still muted, Tony.
Oh, sorry, please ignore my hand.
Just a friendly wave. Director Pettingill.
Can I take a stab then that the staff bring back a policy specifying 6 months as one of the alternatives, and regardless of municipal policies? Is that clear enough?
We don't want to just make that change here, or would staff like some more time to contemplate that and bring it back?
No, I think that's pretty clear for the to bring the policy back with that reflected in the policy and make that additional update to the amendment bylaw and bring it back to a future meeting.
Yes,
I think the concern with that approach, though, is that we could have a situation where if a municipality is only able to, if they have quorum issues, for example, like where they can't, not because anybody doesn't want to be able to do this, but there could be a situation where quorum is a concern. So to misalign that where their appointed director, so they've appointed a counselor to be an SLRD director, and then they've given them 3 months, perhaps, that scenario. Yet then they're entitled to 6 months under the SLRD. So then what happens in those, I guess in those other 3 months, the alternate attends, I think? Okay, so, okay.
that would still work. Awkward, but it would work.
I think it could still work, yeah.
I think that motion works. If you have a motion on that.
I see Jenna, yeah, Director Stoner. And I do see Director Rainbow, okay.
Through the chair, the director Clark's question, I agree that there's definitely a bit of a misalignment there, and I appreciate that. I think that the municipalities have alternate directors for that reason, and it just provides that person coming back from parental leave 3 months of leeway where they have their council duties, but they don't necessarily need to come back to the regional district duties. And so it gives them a bit of flexibility, especially given the childcare crunch that we're experiencing right now. It gives them 3 months additional to figure out who's going to take care of their kid while they come to a regional district meeting. So that's why I think that it could work. I understand that it might be a little bit awkward, but I think we cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay, Director Rainbow.
Sorry, presumably we just understand that an election might change all these timelines. Do we need any wording for that, or do we just assume that's part of our life?
That's contemplated with the wording in the existing amendment in front of you, Director.
Carol, okay.
So I'm not, yes. Yes, Director Reed.
I wasn't sure where you were going. I'm just wondering with changing it, I don't want to cause any issues here because it's been a long couple of days. But I know somewhere in one of the bylaws, if you miss X number of meetings, then you can be removed or whatever. But I was of the assumption, which maybe I shouldn't be, that special meetings that are called or whatever aren't in that scenario. It's like your regular meetings. So if you're changing this, do you have to change all of that stuff, or can we just do the 6 months saying that it's like regular meetings? Any special meetings are whatever they are. Does that make sense, or did I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I know at the district office, like it's special meetings and committee of the whole, that's not considered our regular council meetings. So it's just based on our regular council meetings.
And I agree.
Yeah.
That's been my approach, is looking at the regular meetings, not meetings that might pop up.
Right. So if you say 6 SLRD regular meetings, like instead of otherwise you're conflicting with all the other.
Perhaps we can just take this back instead of making making that wording amendment without making sure we covered everything off. I think if we could just bring it back next month with the changes that the board wishes to see.
And if I can just make a comment, I think when Director Pettengill brought it up earlier, I think we, from what I understand, or from what I'm hearing, is we want to base the policy on like a 6-month, like it's time-based, not
Right.
meeting-based. It's just time-based, a time-based period.
That is my understanding, and I think that is exactly what we're asking for, is looking at the leave being up to 6 months, regardless of meeting schedule during that time. Right?
And I think we can get there. We could either say 6, right,
Regular
we
board
can
meetings might be
clarify
better.
that, but because we want to keep aligned with our remuneration bylaw.
Right.
So we can definitely bring back something that reflects the wishes of the board. It might not say 6 months, it might say 6, right, but it will get us to the same place.
Thank you then. So with that, we just accept receive your report and
Perhaps a resolution to incorporate the board's feedback and bring it back next month.
So there was a motion on the floor, unless I missed that. So we have before we get into that, there was a motion
from Director
from Director
Pettengill.
Pettingill.
Do I, or can I withdraw my?
I don't think it was seconded, but that's just my
Okay.
intention. But if you'd like to withdraw it in favor of this approach of sending staff back with that feedback, and then we need a resolution saying we'd like to see this again with the board's feedback incorporated. Is that catch everything?
Just to get into the conversation, my
Please.
chair might make another option. Director Pettingill's motion was essentially option 2 that was presented in the report today to the board asking for direction. So if the board wanted to receive a policy next time and make a decision as to whether approved or not, simply that motion would do it. That's what we came here to ask for if I read the report properly.
Okay,
If we're going to come with a report with recommendations or options and we're seeking a decision, I don't see why we would change our approach midstream. We put options on the table. One's been put forward in a motion.
so we just need a second
You do.
for that motion from Director Pettingill, and I see Director Demare waving. Thank you. In that case, I'll ask if there's anyone opposed.
So, sorry, just for clarity,
Yes.
so are we making the change as discussed and then adopting the, and then proceeding with the recommendations? With the revision in there?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything different in the discussion from what was proposed by Director Pettingill, and if we received that direction, we would bring back a policy reflecting the discussion. So I think in the very least, I would recommend that you deal with the motion on the table, either to second it, move forward or not, and introduce another one. But I think we're making it pretty challenging. We have the direction, which was to proceed with option 2, and we can go ahead and do that and come back to the board. That's my point.
So to refer it back to staff with the comments provided today. Is that your option 2 in the report?
Option 2 in the report reads, the board confirms that paid leave provided to municipal directors on the proposed S30 paid maternity and parental leave for board members policy be up to 6 months, regardless of what's been granted by the municipality if a respective policy is arisen in existence.
And
So that's the decision, the direction we requested was.
So if I might add, so that's been decided, option 2, where it's 6 months. And then there was another suggestion to update the bylaw amendment from 6 meetings to 6 months.
correct. So based on that, then if we have that motion and it's seconded, then I just need to ask if someone is, but we're just talking about option 2 here as presented in the report. And Director Stoner, yes?
Can I maybe just ask clarification of what is the motion on the floor?
Director Pettingill, is it the board confirms that paid leave provided to municipal directors under the proposed SLRD, paid maternity and parental leave, which is just what for board members policy, be up to 6 months, comma, regardless of what's being granted by their municipality, if a respective policy is or isn't in existence. Option 2 on your,
Yes, that's consistent as long as that leaves room to clarify that it's 6 months and not 6 meetings. Is that clear in that resolution?
up to 6 months is what it says, so
Okay.
that meets your
Yeah.
wishes, I do believe, and I see Director Demers' hand. And you're muted, so.
Sorry about that. This is only dealing with municipal directors. How about electoral area directors? Do we have anything in the bylaw for electoral area directors?
So that piece, sorry, through the chair, that piece is already covered in the proposed policy in 5,
Okay,
I believe. We don't have this issue with the electoral area directors because they're only electoral area directors through the SLRD. They're not part of any other municipality.
okay, thank you.
So given that, then are people comfortable with moving on that resolution? Are there other, okay, so there's no one opposed? Then the motion is carried. And thank you very much for your work.
Thank you.
We have item 10, director's reports, 10.1, chair's verbal report. There is none. We have board roundtable, SLRD area updates. Starting with area V, we've pretty much covered what I'd like to cover with the radio and the agriculture and so forth. So that's my report. Be Director Weed.
Seeing as it's been a long couple of days, I had a few things to bring up, but all I'm going to say is we had drag races on the weekend, on the long weekend in Lillooet, and the Russ brothers were there filming, and guaranteed rugged Lillooet, they wiped their car out on a deer. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Area A, Director Demers.
Yeah, I'll just mention 2 things. We had the opening of the Hailmar Heritage Site this weekend, had good turnout. They brought in plants to sell from Split Rock Environmental, and they just went quick. People love that. So I think that's going to be something they're going to do in the future. We also had bear spray training and sold bear spray. We sold 29 canisters. So just phenomenal. Second thing I'll bring up is we had a trade show, the first ever trade show at the Goldbridge Community Club. It's well attended. I did a pop-up clinic for the Area A OCP, and Alex did a great job, and a couple of posters she made, there were spots to put sticky notes on, and there was good engagement, especially with roads and parks and recreation and trails policies. And the next day we had the first ever garage sale, Valley-wide garage sale, also at the Goldbridge Community Club. It was all well attended, and I was there again. So it was a pretty good weekend in the Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Richmond, Pemberton, and then we'll follow with Area C.
I'll keep it real brief too, and just stick to which most of you probably know, but we completed the hiring process of our CAO. Elizabeth Tracy will be joining us on June 13th, previously working in Whistler. I'm very excited about the selection. I'm really looking forward to working with Elizabeth, and yeah, it's good news and a new beginning. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well done, Director Matt.
Yes, you can hear me? Good. Yeah, no, the long weekend was very busy throughout Area C. All the campsites were well attended, Anderson Lake boat launch was very busy. Lillooet Rodeo was a great success. So that's really good that that's back operational. All the farms in the valley are really busy getting their crops in the ground. The thing I worry about is the rising cost, well, of everything, but fuel for the farms and logging and truckers to haul the goods. I don't know where all this is going to end, but anyways, I'll just leave it at that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Down the road to Whistler. And we don't have any reps from there, so we'll go to Squamish with Director Stoner and Parental.
Just a few highlights. There's always lots going on, but I'll keep it brief. Just a note to the board that the District of Squamish Council has kicked off our review of our community amenity contribution policy. We'll be updating that hopefully before the end of this term, increasing the focus on affordable housing, childcare spaces, and starting to think about how we can actually secure affordable housing units or land as fee simple to move into our new housing society, and not just that those units are built and held by the developer, but that we can actually bring them into the housing society. So that's an interesting project. And I also just wanted to flag, since we had a presentation from Wood Fiber LNG yesterday, that the sister project with LNG is the Fortis BC pipeline, that the Eagle Mountain pipeline that is meant to be delivering the liquefied natural gas to the site. They have proposed and put in an application for a temporary use permit just out within the District of Squamish boundaries, just behind Quest University, for almost 7 hectares for their work camp. So that is going to be interesting to see how the community takes that. There's already lots of concerns about it. So that just recently came onto our radar. I will leave it at that in case Councillor Director Pettingill has anything he'd like to add.
Yeah, thanks. We've also just updated our DCC bylaw. Moving forward at Oceanfront, we had an AAP process that failed, I think due to some misinformation and so on. So we've been really working on clarifying the information, and we're taking another stab at the AAP process. And I think people are really appreciating the engagement. I've been doing Garibaldi Estates, some neighborhood planning, where I think we've been finding that people are really appreciating a small group consultation and the ability to sit down with a counselor. So I think that had a bit of a bumpy start, but just really seeing, I think after COVID too, people really want to get in a small room and have some of these discussions, which is good to see. The last thing I'll just note is that we're continuing to see uptake of our low emissions density bonusing. So more and more multifamily developments coming forward, committing to no gas covenants to help address the climate crisis and avoid new fossil fuel infrastructure. And it's great to see that uptake. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wondered, did I understand that the work camp, did you say it's being set up just outside the District of Squamish boundaries?
It's within the District of Squamish boundaries.
Yeah.
Just up behind Quest University.
Okay. And Director Rainbow.
Sorry, and it's not a foregone conclusion. They've applied for a temporary use permit to do so. So there's a process that needs to follow through as to whether that'll get approved or not.
I just didn't hear you properly the first time. Thank you. Director Rainbow. Unmute.
So there we are. I was saying we had a little discussion about Area D earlier today, so I probably don't need to say too much about what's going on around here. Got some problems up in Black Tusk Pine Crest with some logging that's happening, or proposed logging that's upsetting the people there. Got challenges in the Upper Squamish Valley, as we heard about yesterday. Just one nice thing, working with Ruth Simons from How Sound Akatsum Biosphere region right now, and we're going to, I'll be bringing this to the board later, but the proposal is to have 3 bronze plaques in English and in Squamish language, which just briefly say something about, this is the biosphere, etc. And we're going to put a couple of them at Furry Creek on near the ocean with good lookouts. And I'm looking for a site in Britannia, but I'll leave it at that because I have to dive out for a moment. Thank you very much. Sorry.
Okay, off you go. 10.2, we're done there, right? Yes. Response to improvements to rural urban wildfire prevention. Over to you, Director Demare. Yes? Do we need to receive those reports?
Yes, please.
Okay, a motion to receive the grant from Director Weed. Thank you, seconded by Director Demare.
Whoa, okay. Which one are we on?
I was just trying to receive the roundtable reports. And
Oh, okay.
so a motion from Director Weed. I need a seconder. Thank you, Director Stoner. Anyone opposed? Call the question. Motion carried. Now we move on to,
Can I just have a moment?
yes, we're taking a moment while we get ready for
7 directors. And we're going.
and we're losing Tony.
Just Tony. 7:30. So that will take us to 6. And if there's any conflicts. Some items with conflicts. We might want to-
Okay. All right, so before 1:30, when I do believe we're Director Stoner is leaving. Which items do you think I should bring up, Kristen?
So we're, if there's any items that anyone will be declaring a conflict on,
Director Demare's.
we would, if we move those forward, we will be able to hear them. Otherwise,
Thank you.
after 1:30, we will not have a quorum unless
Excellent.
Tony
No,
comes back.
excellent. So let's look at 11.4, request for funding, Ridge River Valley Community Association, the Bray Lauren Recreation Area Committee, 2022 project coordinator, and I know Director Demare will declare a conflict. Go ahead,
Yes,
Sal.
I'd like to declare a conflict of interest on 11.4, as my daughter is a paid employee with the BRCA, and my wife is on the board of directors.
Thank you. We'll put you in the waiting room and we'll discuss 11.4. Would someone like to make a motion on 11.4 or is that a question?
I'll move 11.4. It's Russell.
I'll second it.
Okay, let me get there. Is anyone opposed? Call that question. I just want to make sure. Is it clear? Oh, are you clear on the motion moving here, Kristen?
That's in the.
Just, okay, exactly. Okay. The funding of $7,000 from electoral area built funds towards that. No one's opposed. Motion is carried. And I thought there was a second one. There is.
I'm going to bring Director Demare back in.
Okay.
Chair, it's Russell here. Could we deal with 11.1 today? It won't take very long, but I'd like to get that done.
Yes. It would be coming up as soon as we finish dealing with 10.2. Yes. So that should be, can we do that before 1:30, everyone?
There's no other conflicts.
No other conflicts? Sal? No, that was just an addition. That's why I had your name there. You don't have to remove yourself again, right, Director Demare? Okay, good. Okay. So let's talk about response to improvements to rural urban wildfire prevention letter, which is item 10.2. That the board send a letter to Sal. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to talk to that. We've had issues getting any Crown land fuel mitigation projects going in our valley. And I want to send back to the minister, basically asking, when are we going to get something? And let them reply back rather than going to Cascades Forest District. I get the same answer from Cascades Forest District all the time. So I'll move this motion.
Very good.
Second.
Seconded by Director Rainbow. Is anyone opposed? I'll call the question and that motion is carried. Now we can look at 11.1. Director Mack.
Yes, I'd like to just speak to this. What I would like to see here is a letter from the board, go to Ministry of Transport, just for information, but to the RCMP, this issue here, we've been dealing with this for a number of years with a couple of, residents that have issues there with speed and whatnot. Now, there is a 50-kilometer speed zone there. There are signs. When you come to the corner in question, Patnaud's corner, 3-stop corner, there is a slow down to 20-kilometer sign when you're coming south going into Pemberton. So I believe, and so do MOT, who I've talked to numerous times, that there's more than enough signage. But what we need more enforcement. So this is an RCMP issue, and I know that, they're always challenged with how much staff they have on hand and whatnot. But if we could send a letter to them just requesting that they step up the enforcement from the village where the 50-kilometer sign starts to Kiora Court, where it ends, just to step that program up to the best of their ability and on an ongoing basis, because I think that's what needs to happen there. Anyways, that's what I would like to see done. So I'll make that motion that we send a letter just stating what I just said to the RCMP and CC it to the Ministry of Transport. I guess it would be to Shannon Payne, who's our area rep. Thank you. So I'll make that motion.
Okay, so a letter from the board to go to the Pemberton RCMP detachment, probably?
Yes.
And to increase the enforcement in that 50-kilometer zone. Yeah.
Attention Corporal Scott Langtree.
Attention Corporal Scott Langtree.
Yes.
And copy to MOTI, specifically Shannon.
Shannon Payne.
Payne. All right, in that 50-kilometer zone. And I see Mike Richmond's hand up for seconding.
Sure, I'll second it. Although I just wanted to ask Russell if you want to write a letter, or do you just want to have a meeting with Scott Langtree and?
Yeah, I've had a number of meetings with the RCMP. So it was more. Langtree definitely knows, but Hamilton before him was, I guess, the person I talked to most about this. But I do think it's wise to actually send a letter just so that it's on file. But I will definitely contact him in person. The other thing too is our MLA is fully aware of this and has been briefed on it a number of times as well. So maybe actually he should be CC'd on this letter too, MLA Sturdy.
Okay, if that's what you want, I'll second it then.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you.
Director Pettingill?
Yeah, just I guess a question of clarification, and I don't on the surface have any concern with the ask, but I am a bit unclear about how this falls within other priorities from the community in terms of RCMP focus. Like, is this sort of, this is the number one thing, or you know, I guess that's a bit unclear to me.
No, I'll answer or try to answer that. I don't believe this is their number one priority in any stretch, but if they're out and about doing traffic, and they have been over the long weekend, they had the highway folks up. They were all over Pemberton and area and throughout the Sea to Sky corridor. I was to Squamish. I saw lots of traffic stops going on, so they're out and about. So I'd just like to see Pemberton Meadows Road put on that list to have them, you know, check it out, whether it's once a week or randomly or however they do it. That's up to them. Thank you.
Did I ask if anyone was opposed to the motion already? I think I did. If not, I'll call the question and move on.
Yep. that's
Okay.
correct.
Okay. Eleven point two is a request for support on this from the Spruce Lake residents to BC Parks in violation of the Park Management Plan and Parks Act. Request from Dennis Perry.
Stop it.
Can I talk to this a bit, please?
By all means, Director Demare, thank you.
Yeah, I can't count the many times I've been right to that spot that they're talking about there, but it's a lot. And I did talk to one of the commercial operators that's up there, and which is Chilcotin Holidays, and they've been there for a long time. And because he's got a tenure, he really didn't want to commit to anything. But I think at a minimum, we should send a letter to David Ronson, who's the BC Parks provincial representative on that. But he's actually the executive director.
David Ronson.
Yeah, and the question would be, why did they choose that spot? Because all we've got is one side of the story, and for us to say anything, it wouldn't be right because we don't have the other side of the story. Why they chose that spot? I mean, if you read into it, you know, there's a lot of things that BC Parks supposedly did that was wrong, but until we hear their story, we'll never know. So, you know, my motion would be that the SRD sends a letter to David Ronson and attach the correspondence that we've got to it, and just ask that question.
So
Why did you choose that spot for their ranger station? And to put it all into context, there's one property owner, private property owner, that takes up pretty well the whole west side of the lake.
Yeah.
It's a huge private property. And when prior to it being a park, you know, people had these private properties there somehow, I have no idea how it all happened, but they did. And two major tenure holders there. One is Tyax Adventures and one is Chilcotin Holidays. That also, their tenures grandfathered in, as did these private properties, just to give it some context.
So you'd like to
Yep.
attach this correspondence from our package and inquire with David Ronson of BC Parks as to why they chose that spot for that ranger station?
Yep.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Director Rainbow, Director Pettingale? Okay. Comments? Is anyone opposed? Then I'll call the question and that motion is carried. 11.3 is a request for a resolution on Whistler Center for Sustainability, Sea to Sky Food Recovery Strategy and Action Plan, a resolution for UBCM. So this is a request from the Whistler Center for Sustainability. And
I'll move that we submit this resolution to UBCM.
moved by Director Stoner, seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed to that? Call the question. Motion carried. 11.4 we've covered already. Thank you very much. We're on to 12, which is correspondence for information. We don't need to do anything on 12.1.
Receipt.
Okay, move to receive. Seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed? Call the question, motion carried. And we also have the letter back from Ministry of Environment, et cetera, on the rodenticides. Motion to receive by Director Rainbow, seconded by,
I'll second it. Do we want to share it with the delegation that came and presented to us on this? I'd move that. I'd put that in the motion if we could.
yes, receive and share with the delegation that presented to
Yeah.
us. This issue.
Thank you.
I also shared it with some of the owl biologists that I know.
So maybe that could be a separate resolution because we've already seconded.
The first
the
one,
resolution
okay.
to receive.
Okay, so we've received it. Is anyone opposed to that? Motion carried. All right, now another motion from Director Richmond is to share this response letter with the delegation that presented to us on this topic, seconded by Director Stoner. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Thank you. It was a pretty weak letter, I must say. Number 13, decision on late business. Clearing the snow. We do have some late business.
12.3.
Road 40, Director Demare, 12.3.
Yes, I definitely want to talk to that one.
Where's that?
So
Trying to remember, just let me collect the piece of paper that came in.
5.2.4. It was removed from the consent agenda.
Right, thank you.
can I start talking? Chair?
Please go ahead, Director Demare.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is the second response from Minister Rob Fleming on, we had another one earlier on the road classifications and for class 4 to 7 to make improvements. And all he did was just copy the board, very similar to this one. So I got two resolutions that the SLRD board send the ministry response letter to Michelle Edwards, Lillooet Tribal Council Chair, Brenda Ingram, BC Hydro, Ross Turner, BC Hydro, and Jackie Taggart, MLA. I want them to see the response. The
Okay,
second
hold on.
one,
Nope,
Yeah.
wait.
Well,
So
okay.
just that we send a copy of this letter to Lillooet Tribal Council and the two people from BC Hydro, Ross Turner
Yeah.
and somebody Ingram.
there's Brandon Ingram and Ross Turner from
And
BC
Emily
Hydro
Taggart. Okay,
and Emily Taggart. Yeah,
okay, so that's your motion,
that's my motion. Yeah.
seconded by Director Rainbow. Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. All right.
The second aspect to this response was that they've requested CAO Craig Dalton to communicate with Sandy Griffiths. So I'm okay with that, but I would like Craig to drive the road with me and Mission Mountain Road so that he fully understands all the issues with the road. So when he does speak to Sandy Griffiths, that he understands where the property owners and residents of Seton Portage and the Goldbridge area are. I mean, the Yellowcombe Valley is in the same boat. We all drive that road. So my second motion is that CAO Craig Dalton take a tour of Road 40 and Mission Mountain Road with Director Demare prior to any communications with Sandy Griffiths, District Manager, Caribou District, Maudie.
Well, I can certainly second that, and is there any hesitation on
I'm
that?
not sure we need a resolution.
I was
Yeah, no,
just
it's
gonna
just a
respectfully
request.
say we don't need a resolution for
Yeah.
that. I'll call you today and we'll pick a date.
And maybe I'll go along.
Okay.
Good luck, Craig.
Well, okay, so we don't need. a
Just an update on that. We do have our next MLA Maudie local government representative meeting coming up on June the 20th. So we definitely want to have that tour prior to and have Craig Dalton communicate with Sandra Griffiths before that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Well done, okay. I think now the late business is the clearing, the Nairn Bog snow clearance,
Additionally.
additional late business. And we have Ring Road as well.
So we first need a motion to add the additional late business item.
Would someone like to move that? To add, yep, Director Stoner, thank you, seconded by Director Demare. Anyone opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. So we're going to talk about that late business.
That will be 14.2, so we'll go back to 14.1, which is.
Okay. So now we can talk about 14.1, which Director Rainbow, this is a late report on Ring Creek. If you'd like to talk about that, please.
Yeah, this won't take very long. I've got a PowerPoint, which will probably be about 45 minutes, and then I'll be. We've arrived at this point after Stalker did a lot of work in terms of working out where a parking lot might be and so on and so forth. They contacted me for funding. I don't know if they ever contacted Karen directly, but I certainly did. And Karen and I have discussed this at length. We would like to use some community works funds for it, but we're not sure about that. So I have a motion which will sort of cut this off at this point. So if I could just read it.
Yep, and just before you start, I see, thank you, Suzanne LaFrance has joined us, and also Director Jewett is back, so that's good, welcome back. And yep, proceed, Director Rainbow.
Yeah, this is something I discussed with CAO Dalton yesterday, and so the motion is this. We direct staff to consider this report and analyze the use of community service funds for this purpose and to report back to the board.
I can hear that dog. Direct staff to consider this report.
Analyze the use of community service funds for this purpose and to report back to the board.
Analyze the use of community works funds for this purpose and report back to the board. Perfect. I can second that. And do we have opposition to that? Anyone opposed? Nope, seeing none. That motion is carried. Sorry, Director LaFrance, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that there's a lot of information I still need in order to make that verification. So I'll reach out to you, Tony. Is
Yeah,
that?
that's fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. Then that one is done. 14.2 is looking at the letter of support to the mayor and Falls snow clearance.
A request by the chamber.
Pemberton Tourism.
Tourism Pemberton, yeah.
Letter of support from the board to apply for provincial funding for snow clearing at Nairn Falls.
I'd make that motion.
Thank you, Director Richmond, moved by Director Richmond, seconded by Director Demare. Is anyone opposed to the motion? Seeing none, call the question, motion carried. Now,
Chair, would it pose a problem if I left at this time?
I think we will be okay. As happily, Director Jewett has joined us, so in terms of quorum, I think we're fine.
Okay, I'm sorry. My dog, he's just thrown up, so I've got to take care of him.
Take care of the dog. Director's notice of motion. Are there any? No? Then we recess. I'm doing that incorrectly. We've already done the committee of the whole, done the committee of the whole closed, done the open closed. So where do we go back to? Rise and report?
So we will go from 15 to 17, which is recommendations. And we had none from the open committee of the whole.
Right.
And we will close the meeting.
A motion to close the meeting. Director Weave, seconded by Director. Opposed? Question.